Hello, and welcome to the newest episode of Borderline Podcast Disorder. I hope you had a good weekend. And for anyone listening, coming back from previous episodes, I hope you enjoyed what we had for you. In case you're a new listener, or if you haven't listen to what I said last week, I'm just gonna remind you once again that for the foreseeable future, we're going back to the normal schedule, which is one episode once a week, probably on Tuesdays. So this is gonna be out on Tuesday as well, and that's because of a combination of factors. Some have to do with my day job, some have to do with the comedy, and I guess with the balance between everything. Although in the summer I was able to take, and because I wasn't well, I was able to take a bit of a break from going out and gigging. Now I'm going back into it a little bit again, as usual, and so yeah, we'll go back to recording one episode a week, unless again there is anything to do with special guests, and again special guests because of a time limit with them, or unless anything, I don't know, huge happens. But yeah, besides of that, again, it's been a busy week, and it's been a lot going on, and I'm actually going to enjoy having had this recorded before the weekend. Now I'm going into the weekend to be with my partner. We're going away for a couple of days, and it's the first time we're going to have someone cat sit for us. And a part of me is really, worried. I don't want to leave Pickle and Sarma, but yeah, we got to, and I'm already, thinking about how much I'm gonna miss them, and I'm gonna miss them a lot. And but it's gonna be a good weekend. I want to take the time to, just enjoy life with my partner. It's been, I think, yeah, it's been hectic for both of us, and we're hopefully gonna make the most of this little break. And yeah, it's been a lot of worrying, at the moment. uh, Finances and stuff like that is a bit it's a bit crazy, it's a bit wild. I think from my understanding, from what I've been talking with other people as well, I'm not the only one that was not I wouldn't say suffering, but the only one that I think loads of people are struggling at the moment. But yeah, it's just crazy because it's never or it's not happened to this extent in my adult life. So now to kind of see this, it's a bit daunting, a bit scary. But look, man, I can't complain. I think I'm in a much better situation than other people. I have to remind, although I have to remind myself of that. I yeah, we just gotta keep on going, and just gotta take it easy. I had to do a lot of fact checking, because I've been very judgmental with myself in the past week, and at times I didn't. I gave in, I caved. I just allowed myself to get into that hole, but then some other times I had to, being advised by my therapist on our last session, I had to do a lot more, fast fact checking. Literally, one of them was, "Am I a piece of shit?" And then, I had to see whether that is true or not, and how would one define that. And I guess it's different for everyone. I'm not gonna tell you what the answer was. You'll just make it to yourselves. You decide what you think. I wouldn't blame you either way. I think there are signs of both in me, for sure. But yeah, it's just stuff like that, and we'll see what's going to happen next. Okay, we'll see what the future holds us. Now, what have I got for you this week? Well, it's a conversation I truly enjoyed with Jamie Lerner. She's a fellow comedian. You know, she's based in Barcelona, but she's in Edinburgh this month. So, although checking demographics of the podcast, we don't have many Scottish listeners or many people who listen from Edinburgh. But in case you are, then check out her show. I think it's a brilliant show. We talk about it a little bit in the podcast, but you'll see we talk about quite a few things, and it was a really enjoyable conversation. I think she's to an extent what what I wish I was, which is a New Yorker. And we talk about sports a little bit. We got to go to the Mets Phillies game, and it was my first baseball game live, and obviously in person. And I loved it. It was such a good experience, and to have to record the podcast before that made the day a lot better. But look, I'll let you enjoy the episode, and you'll hear back from me. Oh yeah, you hear back from me before after the conversation. So here's Jamie. Okay, so Jamie. Oh, did I get your water?
Yes, you did. I have
Yes. Okay, perfect. Yeah. Well, Jamie, hello, welcome. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
No, I'm so happy to see you here, and I'm excited for later on today.
Oh yeah, we're going to the Mets Phillies game.
Yes. So
The Mets are gonna win.
well, I think they have a long way to go after yesterday, but
Yeah.
who knows? I mean, it doesn't matter. I'm just excited. I haven't watched. I've never watched baseball live.
Really?
Yeah. So
It-
yeah. So this is the reason why I'm actually so like pumped about it.
It's really fun. And the way, so I went to the game yesterday, and the way that they did the game at this London stadium was like really big fanfare. They had like a live band. They had Matthew Broderick throughout the first pitch yesterday. You know who he is, right? You're making a face like he's amazing, but I have no idea who he is. He was Ferris Bueller in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He's in he's a voice. He does like the producers. He's like a huge Hollywood star.
Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah, I would say A-lister, but maybe B-lister, I guess.
Wait, because he came as well for the game then, or is he
Yeah.
like? Because he's not English.
No.
No,
He
yeah,
came, he's a big Mets fan.
Ah.
And then today, I don't know who's doing the first pitch, but yesterday there were a ton of legendary Phillies and Mets. So I saw Ryan Howard and Chase Utley. And I knew who they were because of Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
I How far did you get on Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
I watched all of it, of course.
Really?
You don't like it?
No, it's not. I mean, I don't mind. Yeah, it's not my choice of.
Oh my God. Do you smoke weed?
No.
That's why.
Really? You think?
I like it. I like it a lot sober. I like it more when I'm high.
No, I mean but the thing is, I look like Rick and Morty. I know I love it, and I don't do drugs like 'cause I I used to. I mean, I didn't do weed wasn't my drug of choice,
Sure.
but yeah, I don't mind it. Like again, Rick and Morty was great. However, yeah, with Always Sunny, I don't know. I just although it sounds like I should like it because the characters are very well written.
Yeah.
I think from what I've seen, it's funny.
Have you watched it in order?
I have,
Interesting.
and I also like watched it. I went through like maybe first three episodes, then first three seasons or four seasons, and then I went back to start again. I was like, I can't get into this, and
Weird.
yeah, because especially I think at the moment, I don't know how you find it, but I always go back to things that I've already seen. Again, I'm
Yeah.
talking about in the last year or so, because of how like busy I am with everything else. I feel like I almost don't have the energy to watch new things because I'm so easily distracted.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like I watch a lot of like The Office and Friends. Well, I have different shows for different things. So I have like Friends is my fall asleep show because I've seen it so many times that I almost always fall asleep to it now, even though I love it. I think it's hilarious, but It's good for sleeping. The Office, I like to put on either for sleeping or while I'm working. And then Always Sunny is when I get high. I watch Always Sunny and fall asleep to Always Sunny. Um, yeah, I have like these different shows I've seen before, but that's Always Sunny's on that list for me. But it is hard for me to watch new things. Like the only new thing I've watched recently was Heartbreak High, which is like an Australian high school drama show. It's
I think
really
I've seen the
silly.
adverts. Was it good?
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Was it good? Did
It's
you like it?
great.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying it. I have one episode left of season 2 and I love it. It's
Okay.
like very Gen Z and I'm a millennial. You're a millennial, right?
I think so.
Yeah. I think
27.
yeah, you're a millennial. So it has that sort of like Gen Z, like everyone's gay,
Right.
like sort of diversity, like pro, like which is fun to watch. And I've realized I really like watching high school drama TV shows or like even high school comedy TV shows.
Have you watched OC?
No, I need to. I would love it. I would love it. You know why? Because I think that I know this is like totally off topic. Not that we have a topic, but I think that like high school shows allow the story to be way more dramatic,
Oh yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
in real life, if high schoolers are doing crazy stuff, it's like, well, they're in high school. But if you see 30-year-old like hooking up with their best friends, boyfriends, and like going, going on crazy parties and benders, it's like, what are you doing? You're 30. Like,
It's so far away from the truth.
yeah. I'm like, do I wish I could do that or am I sorry for you? You know? Whereas like with high school, there's this weird like nostalgia slash like entertainment. I don't know.
I guess, because I always think about although I haven't really enjoyed the last two seasons of the Big Mouth.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
love the beginning and I love
Same.
the whole like the start of it. And like I said, the nostalgia, like the feelings that come with it.
Mhm.
It was just like, oh, although I hated most of my time in high school,
Right.
but still, I'm just like, oh my god, this is actually
Big
very
Mouth
good.
is amazing.
Yeah, very good,
Yeah,
very good. I think I kind of lost it now,
I
uh,
agree. I kind of fell off the last season or two.
but but yeah, when he came out, I think actually I started watching it through the pandemic,
Yeah,
like through the lockdowns, and yeah, it was just so good.
it's so good. I think, yeah, in the last season or two, there was like so much like weird incest stuff. And like, I was just like, I can relate to this. I can relate to her like figuring out her, like Jessie figuring out her sexuality and getting her period and like all of that stuff. And then when it got to like Andrew wanting to fuck his cousin, I'm like, Andrew, like, what?
I think yeah, it's I don't know again because without having I just couldn't like I put it on. I tried to watch it. We tried to watch as well. The thing that they did on the side with it.
Yeah,
Behind the
human
scenes. Yeah, the
resources.
human
I
resources.
watched that too. Yeah.
I just couldn't pay like I didn't get drawn into it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, fine,
It's
that's it.
background for me. I can watch both in the background, like new episodes of both while I'm doing other
Oh.
things.
Yeah, no, I think, but the thing is, because sometimes you hear something, and I feel like coming back to Office, or I usually Friends, Big Bang Theory, and the Modern Family is usually
Oh
like my
yeah.
background
I
stuff
love
and like
Modern
sleep stuff.
Family.
But that's because I hear it and I'm kind of like I heard it before, I know what it is, but then I can't put new stuff on the background because then I get like what
Right.
like oh, what did you say? What, like, have I lost something?
Yeah.
And I tried. I have to then go back on. I watched this. It's an English thing though, which I absolutely love. It's the Phoenix Nights.
I haven't heard of it.
Oh my god, it's the I think is the best
Phoenix Nights.
Phoenix Nights.
I
Yeah,
gotta watch
it's
it.
the best thing that's been made in England.
Really?
I think, at least to
That's
me.
saying a lot.
I know, but I'm being incredibly biased because it's based in Bolton, which is a
Okay.
city just like north of Manchester. The accent is fascinating. I find the
Oh, I
Bolton accent
love
fascinating.
like the Scouser Mancunian accents.
Yeah, this is like a more like Mancunian and like even a little bit more like North. I think Northerner. I don't know how to describe it, but
Yeah.
I just find it hilarious. And then it's based on I think in the early 2000s, and it's about like this like gentleman's club, or like
Cool.
basically something that was meant to be like a gentleman's club, or like a I don't know, club of some sort, and then it doesn't. Anyway, it's wonderful, and it's Peter Kay, and he plays like multiple characters
Cool.
throughout, and I think
What is it? Phoenix what?
Phoenix Nights. It's
Phoenix
on.
Nights.
It's 2 seasons. It's like 30 minutes per episode, and you can get it. I mean,
They
I
should
shouldn't say.
sponsor you.
I I think well, this is the wild thing because it's been made by Channel 4, but it's not on Channel 4. You just have to go on like
That's so weird.
Daily Motion or
Yeah, or like Soap Today or
weird.
something.
Yeah. And you get it there, and it's wonder. I personally think if you come, I think that should be in your
In my rotation.
citizenship. No. Like when you
Oh,
British citizenship test is like, what do you think about those? Like, what's your favorite sitcom or whatever?
yeah.
And why is it Phoenix Nights?
That's so funny.
But how long are you in the UK now?
I'm here. I got here on Wednesday and I leave Tuesday.
Tuesday.
So just a couple more days. I came because I had tickets to the Mets Phillies games. So I was like, I bought those tickets ages ago, like when they were released. And then tickets were released for Romeo and Juliet starring Tom Holland.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, I'll just tack that onto my Mets trip. And then I got offered press tickets to go to a new musical called Diva Live from Hell. So then I had tickets basically for things Thursday through Sunday. And then one of my friends, Alex, I was like, oh, are you in London then? Like, would love to see you. He was like, I'm not really going to be back until the Monday. So I was like, okay, I'll just stay an extra day. And yeah, so that's my trip.
Well, for anyone listening who doesn't know, where are you based?
I'm based in Barcelona.
How's Barcelona?
It's the best. I
Really?
fucking love it. Yeah. I'm allowed to curse on this, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, please.
Okay, great. Yeah. I just do it naturally. I don't realize. I actually cursed in front of kids the other day, like English kids.
I think they get to eventually
kids.
experience it. Might as well.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I was teaching them, so I don't know. I was in the States in April, like visiting a friend. And she's doing like an after school theater program for kids, like teaching them. And that's what I studied. That's what I used to do. So I was like, oh, I would love to come just like help out a bit. And I went and I was teaching the kids a dance and I was like, oh, just this and some other shit. And then they didn't really notice. And my friend looked at me and I looked at her and we were just like, and then we just kept on going and just hoped they didn't. And I was like, don't say stuff. Okay, let's keep going. Like,
is shit a swearing?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, kids. They're like 9-year-old kids. Like you shouldn't say shit in front of kids. But or maybe I even said no. Maybe I said fuck. I might have said fuck. I might have said, oh, I fucked that up. I think that's what I did. I said I fucked that up.
I mean, still, I feel like again, eventually they will get.
Yeah, they'll hear it. They heard it already.
Yeah.
Like it's just when it's like an educational figure, like someone there that's supposed to be like a role model. You know.
I mean, I always I have this theory. I feel like the role. I think the my assumption with anything in life is that I always just assume that someone, however highly I regard them,
Yeah.
they've probably done something that they regret.
Yeah.
You know, because that helps me.
That's actually like a really great way to think about it. Like Donald Trump, great guy, but done a lot of things he probably regrets.
Yeah.
Let's get into politics. Oh
Yeah, I mean,
God.
you know,
I obviously don't think that he's a great guy.
I think it. Well, look, I mean, look, you gotta see, you know, the good. No, well, again, that wasn't the case, but I'm just kind of, you know, because I always, I especially at this time, you kind of think of. I even think of like my parents, you know, at times, and I'm
Yeah.
like, you know, wonderful people, but then it helps me like actually humanize them and be like, you know what, they've done some stupid stuff, like they've done some things that they are like, oh, maybe I should have not done this, or if you was saying like in today's climate, then you'd be, and I think it's a lot of like, look, comedians, you
Yeah.
know, again, politicians, I think even sports people, you know, from like back in the day when you're like, oh my god, this like person is an icon to me, and then you actually find out that they, I don't know, use the N word or they did, and you're like,
Yeah.
well, you know, it's annoying, and it's I think it's terrible, but then now the fact that I assume that, you know what, I think is one of those things where if someone's past a certain age, or if someone's lived in a certain, you know, period of time,
Mhm.
just assume that they have
They've done some
done
stuff.
something. Yeah, they've
Yeah.
done something wrong.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's tough. Sports people is a really good example because like Jose Reyes, I don't know if you know who he is. He was a Mets player in like the 2000s, and he was, the cats are so cute right now. And he was iconic. He was like a really good shortstop. He was one of our best shortstops, and he was really fast. Right, he was like like known for stealing bases, like broke records stealing bases. And then it was found that he was a wife beater, which is bad. Um, and and then he so then like a bunch of like, and then he was like traded away from the Mets, and then a bunch of teams like, I don't know. He had been traded away from the Mets before they found he was a wife beater or something, and so he was like circling through the MLB, and then no one wanted him because he was like a bad dude, and then the Mets took him back because the Mets were like, well, he's a Mets legend, you know, like he's known as a Met. And I was like, I don't know how to feel about this because he's a bad guy, but also he's a great baseball player.
I think it's wild, and you know, I think it's a thing at the moment with even in football as well, where there's like this
Yeah,
like actually X is like a Manchester United player
yeah,
who's had um wait, yeah, he was. I think in a similar position. Basically, he like abused his partner, his wife now. I think, and they have even like a kid together now. And
yeah.
it's a whole this thing where he's been sent on a loan to Spain, and now this season is like whether
Right.
he's gonna stay there. But then, yeah, like what do you do? And I feel like in that, to me, I think it's kind of like, well, he's clearly a bad person.
Yeah.
Sorry for anyone. We're not laughing at the conversation. It's just the
It's
cats are going crazy.
I like the contrast of like us having the serious talk about like domestic violence among sports players, and then like the
The kids.
adorable kittens just like fighting in the
I
corner.
think this is the kids that are just like playing around. This is just the way life is.
Yeah, they just exactly. It's like crazy bad stuff happens, and then the kids are playing. You know.
And
Um,
they heard us swearing earlier as well. Uh,
yeah, yeah, exactly. They were like, "Fuck, okay, I'm gonna say that all the time now." Meow. Like,
Meow, meow. Yeah, no, it's funny. Sometimes we put like those cat videos, you know, where like
yeah.
cats meowing and they just like turn their heads and they go, "Oh, what's
Oh
happening?"
my god, they're so
But
cute.
coming back, yeah, so that's the thing. That yeah, it's a whole. I think it's so strange. It's so like hard to make a decision,
Yeah,
you know, to an extent, because you're. I mean, to me, I already made it. I think that he shouldn't, you know, be anywhere near, you know, a club with who's like which are like a respectable reputation. But then,
right.
how do you choose that? Like, who what's a club with a respectable reputation? What's you know the I think even in this circumstance, like no, the what's the price to pay for this? You know,
Yeah.
like where do you stop? Where I don't know. It's just so wild. But
Sorry, we
Barcelona,
sidebarred. Yeah. So
yeah,
Barcelona. So I live in Barcelona. I love it there. I mean, we have the beach, we have hiking, we have like nice weather, and then it's a small city, which I like because I need to be constantly entertained. I need the options of like things to do and things to see, but I also like being able to relax and chill and like separate myself when I need to.
also based on the something you said earlier.
Yeah.
So you watch Romeo and Juliet with Tom Holland, and
Yeah.
then you watch another play.
Yeah.
How did you get the tickets for that? Because you're
Oh yeah, so I get press tickets. So I work with, so my like day job is I'm a writer. I'm a content writer. So I work with two websites right now, Distractify and Thought Catalog. And so with Distractify, I've been writing Edinburgh reviews for the last 2 years,
interesting.
which is cool. It's more of a side project that they let me do using their platform. I'm like,
Right.
I work for you all year, and then I get to use the platform for my Edinburgh reviews. But it has put me in touch with a lot of like press people, PR people. So they'll reach out. They'll be like, "This show is, um, like the person who offered me this ticket. I think I saw a bunch of her shows last year, and like her clients this year. I mean, some are like really incredible." And so she was just like, um, "Let's yeah, like I have these press tickets available for you if you want." And so I was like, yeah, would love to see it. And the composer of the show, His name is Alexander Sage Oyen, and I had seen stuff that he had composed before, back in like New York in the musical theater world. And he's really good friends with one, or I don't know if he's really good friends with, but he's at least like friends or like cohorts with one of my good friends who's a musical theater composer
Wow.
named Zach Zadek. So I was like, I know I'll at least like the music. And it was really, really fun. It was called Diva Live from Hell.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And did you do theater? Like, were you involved in theater and like musicals in New York as well?
Yeah. So I did theater my whole life. Like that's how I got into the performing arts in general.
Interesting.
Yeah. I started when I was like 6 or 7. I was obsessed with the musical Annie.
Okay.
You know Annie?
I know of it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tomorrow, tomorrow. I can't really sing right now because I have a stuffy nose, but um I have been in 10 different versions of Annie in my life. 10 different productions. Not 10 performances. I've done way more than 10
Yeah.
performances. 10 different productions. I was cast as the same chorus orphan twice by 2 different directors. They were like, Jamie has Dusty energy all over her. There is a chorus orphan named Dusty. Apparently, I am Dusty. I've played Annie, I've played Molly, I've played Rooster, Warbucks. The characters I have not played are the adult women for some reason. I've never played Hannigan, Grace, or Lily.
It's still time. You still
There's still
got a lot
time.
of time.
Exactly. Like those are the ones that I'm like, I would love to play Lily. Like I think I would be a really fun Lily.
So what made you wanna move to Europe? Like, what made you wanna try this in the first place?
Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah, it's good.
Okay. His computer went to screensaver. I was worried.
It's all good.
I love Europe. I started traveling when I was like 13 for real. So I guess okay, I have to go like all the way back.
Yeah, please.
So when I got my bat mitzvah, when I had my bat mitzvah, my grandparents, I was the oldest of my on my dad's side of the grandchildren. My grandparents decided that the grandchildren they'll bring on a trip for their bar and bat mitzvahs. And I had always been intrigued by like foreign culture.
Right.
I took French when I was in 7th grade.
Okay.
I was a ballerina. I did like ballet and dance and stuff. And then I loved theater. And so I was like, for my bat mitzvah trip, I want to go to London and Paris. And so my grandparents put 13-year-old me on a flight. I had been to Europe before when I was like 5, but I obviously like didn't really remember that. And so they came with me. They got me a first class ticket, which is so sweet. And it's like now I obviously like they were my old grandparents sat back in coach while I was in first class.
Oh.
It's so ridiculous. Like now I would obviously be like, Nanny, sit in first class like you're old. But like it was really nice. I had an ice cream sundae. Oh my God, it was the best. And yeah, so we got to London. We were there for a week and then we did a week in Paris. And my grandparents are really like really well traveled. They still travel all the time. And so they were really good at like booking itineraries. And we went to Stonehenge and Bath and we saw stuff on the West End. We saw Footloose and Les Mis, I think. Footloose was a weird choice, but I insisted.
Oh.
I think because that summer I was supposed to be in a production of Footloose. So I was like,
okay.
I want to see it on the West End. And yeah, I fell in love with it. And then I studied abroad in London when I was in college. I also did like a summer in Florence when I was in college.
No way.
Yeah. And so then when I finished college, cats are hilarious. When I finished college, all of my closest college friends were like making plans to live with each other and stuff. And I was like, no one wants to live with me. And I knew that my roommate and I at the time weren't going to live together again. So I was just like, I guess I'll just go to Europe. Bye, guys. And I lined up a program teaching English in Barcelona and got a student visa and moved to Barcelona in 2015. And then that visa lasted a year. They were going to renew me for another year, but near the end of my teaching, I was in a school. I kind of fell off a bit because I was in a production of Alice in Wonderland. I was Alice. And I also was seeing someone that was really flaky who is still in Barcelona. And I've always let love like kind of take over my entire being. And so if something goes wrong, I'm what they say is like anxious attachment.
Oh,
You
interesting.
know, the attachment
Yeah,
style.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm like textbook anxious attachment. I'm trying to kind of be more secure. Obviously, like that's the goal, but it's really hard, especially when I haven't had like a steady partner to help me get there. Um, and in that moment, he's textbook avoidant. Like he is why I learned about attachment style.
Okay.
And we learned together like after that because we stayed in touch. But um years later we stayed in touch. He blocked me for a while because I was like texting him so much. So, but he stood me up. So it was like
Fair.
right? It's like fair. Like men are like, why are you crazy? And I'm like, because you ignored me. Like, what do you expect's gonna happen? They're so stupid. They're so dumb. But anyway, I let it like take over and make me really depressed. And like,
Fair enough.
I just stopped going to like work because it was near the end of the term. And I was like, I felt sick. Like, it literally like physically affected me. And so I was like, I don't feel well. I can't come in today, or I need a mental health day, or blah, blah, blah. And then my boss saw Alice in Wonderland and she was like, Jamie, you very clearly don't want to be a teacher. You love theater. You love the comedy that you're doing. You love all the other things you're doing. I can't, in good faith, like rehire you. Even though you are great at teaching, it's like clearly not what you want to do. And I'm actually really grateful for that because, yeah, it kind of messed up the visa thing. But at the same time, I would have been tied to teaching to stay in Spain. And like it kind of forced me to find my own way.
So how did that work?
So I moved back to the States.
Right.
I lived in New York for like 5 years. I had a job offer to work with a theater company in Spain
Right.
as like it was one of those like kid theater companies where they like perform shows in English to
Yeah, yeah.
teach English.
Yeah.
But the visa situation was really difficult. So I ended up in New York. I was in a really cool apartment. It was like a loft in Brooklyn with like a view of the New York City skyline. We had a rooftop, floor to ceiling. It was like what you imagine when you're like cool Brooklyn apartment. Like that was it. And I had these two random roommates that I met through Facebook. Uh, one who is now my best friend and moved back with me to Barcelona.
Nice.
So it was like a really cool situation. I got a job in a restaurant that I had worked in before I left as a hostess. I just started working with them again. And they were like, do you want something full time? And I was like, sure. So a lot of things just kind of fell into place in New York. And I had already started comedy. So I was like, I'll just keep doing comedy in New York. And I just stayed for a while. And then in my lease, but I had always wanted to move back to Barcelona. So in 2019, sorry, this is like a very long
No,
story.
no, it's absolutely fine.
Okay.
Please
I'm not
continue.
used to like, because I do my own podcast. I'm so used to like being the interviewer and just like not
What's it called?
talking. Comedy confession booth.
What how's it going?
It's great. It's really
Nice.
fun. Yeah, I do it through the Comedy Clubhouse in Barcelona.
Okay,
So I
okay.
interview like our headliners
Yeah.
and ask them about the exact same, not the exact same things, but I'm like, how did you get started in comedy? And blah, blah, blah. I never get to like tell my own story.
Well, here is the platform.
Here's
And we'll talk about the
platform.
podcast in a second as well though.
Yeah.
Coming back. So, you're still in New York now?
Yeah. So it's 2019, fall of 2019. I had just visited Barcelona with my friend, who I end up moving there with. And then we get back to New York and I break my wrist. And I was a full time bartender at the time, which meant I could not work. Um, and I'm also almost 26, which in America is the age where you can no longer be on your parents' health insurance. And so, as you know, health insurance in America is super fucked.
Yeah.
And so I was freaking out. I was like, because my plan was to bartend full time at the Hoxton Hotel in New York City where I was working part-time. I was like, if I switch to full-time, then I can get health insurance through them and be fine. And then because I broke my wrist, we couldn't do that. I like had several meetings with them. It was very stressful. And so I met with like a therapist, life coach person, and I only had enough money and time essentially for like one session because then my health insurance changed. But she was amazing. She was like, she changed my life because she was like, save up money. You want to move back to Barcelona, find a job where you can save money and do it. And I was like, you're so right. I can just do that for a year. So I interviewed for a few like sales jobs and I ended up getting a sales job with my broken wrist. I like went in with it like I was like in a cast and I was like, oh. But the sales managers liked me, and even though I had never officially done sales, they were like, I think you'd be good at it. And so I did that. And I was like, I'll just stay for a year. And then in June 2020, my lease will end. I can quit my job. I'll have saved some money and I'll move to Barcelona. But of course, 2020, COVID. So in like March 2020, COVID hits, and I was selling online ordering, which um, every restaurant wanted. Right. And so it was this weird thing where I was working, everyone else was like, oh my God, I'm losing my job. I was like super employed, but I was working 12-hour days, like making mad money, but also feeling really guilty about it because I'm selling something to people who need it. And I was like, I just want it to be free for you. Like, you need this.
Yeah.
Right. So there was this like weird guilt slash like constant work. And I was just absolutely miserable. And I thought I would be able to quit in 2020 and I couldn't. And I just had to keep working. And yeah, so eventually by I think it was around like October, I realized, okay, I need to like start making moves towards a job that doesn't make me miserable. Like that was the point where I got so depressed. I would like wake up crying and I would go to my manager, I would like slack him and just be like, I can't work because I can't stop crying. And it was one of those things where the job itself, when I went into the office and I had my friends, I liked it. But when you're alone in your room and it's, you know, you can't really go outside much, you can't really see your friends, and you're just selling to people, even though selling is somewhat social, it's like you're also trying to manipulate people. And it was like, it just took such a toll on me. I couldn't do it. And so I got a freelance writing job. So I would sell all all day. Like part of me was like, just fire me so I can get unemployment. Like my roommate was making like almost as much as me just on unemployment. Not almost as much as me, but she was making enough.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I wish I could just not fucking work. But if you quit, you can't get unemployment.
Really?
Yeah, only if you get fired. So I was like, oh, they are going to be jumpy cats. Um, they're amazing. So I like just oh my god, that was very impressive.
Almost, yeah.
He almost reached the thing.
Should I take a break?
So yeah, I was working 8 hours a day doing sales, and then I would write 2 articles each night for Distractify as freelance. And then in like January 2021, I was like, hey, any chance I can go to full time with you guys? And they were like, yeah, let's do it. And so then I was able to quit my sales job during the pandemic. And then after me, there was a whole barrage of people quitting, but I was like kind of the first. And this is kind of bragging, but whatever. But I was top when I quit. I was the top. I had the top sales for the year before. So
Well done.
Quit in your prime, as it is. Which is why sometimes I'm like, yeah, just quit life in my prime, right? Never gonna go downhill. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, so then once I was full time with my writing job, I was like, okay, great. This is remote. This is I made half as much as I did with sales, but I didn't want to die. So, and
Fair.
then as COVID started to let up, we were able to move to Barcelona, and I got the non-lucrative visa. So I basically just had to show that I had savings,
And that's
which,
it.
which I did for my sales job. So yeah,
It worked out.
it worked out.
And
It's a
then
very long story. I'm so sorry.
no, why? Don't be silly. I think it's a great story, and I think it's such an important thing for people to kind of realize what like when jobs don't align with their values.
Yeah.
Again, whatever those values are, whether it's the place, because you want to be somewhere else, whether it's the things that you do for the job, because I think I agree with the idea that everyone's got a price, whether it's financial or whether it's something else.
Yeah.
But I think again the price can be in many ways.
Yeah, for sure.
And because I'm personally, I'm at the point now where I'm like, I know what I want to do as a
What do you
career.
want to do?
Comedy.
Yeah,
I want
yeah,
to
yeah.
like the comedy is my it's where I want to go. I want to write. I'm actually writing, or like I'm playing around with writing my own play. I
Cool.
will tell you when we watch the game later.
Yeah. Oh my
I'll
God, I'm so excited.
yeah, I'll tell you more about it. I'm pretty excited about it. I think it's a
What's
good
it
idea.
about?
Well, about BPD, and I
Oh,
think
cool.
I want to basically I'm planning to get a keyboard,
Nice.
and because I want to have like some musical
Do you play
parts.
piano?
No, but I want to learn
I'll
just
teach you.
like to play the keys, because I want to basically. The idea is, and I'm gonna say it here right now, and if someone else does it before me, I will sue you. Um, but basically, the idea is that where you have the with BPD, obviously the emotional dysregulation is huge, right? So you can either get like really detached from something, or like you don't accept feeling,
Mhm.
or you feel too much.
Right.
So I want throughout the story the emotions to be matched by the music,
Brilliant.
where you get something like very like somber and very dark, and it's kind of like you're not allowing for your emotions
Yeah.
to take over. And then you know and like from past experience, I think of like when my mom passed away. It took
Yeah.
me like so long to actually like accept it. I think only maybe actually after the funeral, a few hours after the funeral, that's when actually it hit me.
Right.
But then for like 4 days straight, I was just like almost in denial, while also trying to like sort out the funeral and everything.
Yeah.
But then sometimes I see someone like spitting outside, and I just go absolutely, again, I don't the person, but in my head I just lose my shit. It goes
Course.
over 100, and that's what I thought. It's kind of it's this is what it's going to be about. Anyway, coming back to the previous point, I know what I want to do. I know that like whatever I do during the day, it's just like means for me to make enough money to help me focus. But
Exactly.
not to get there, it was a journey, and even to like accept it, to be at the point now where I'm like, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to do those sacrifices, but I don't want to sacrifice this stuff, which I think when you were talking about how you're like, these jobs makes me miserable, like regardless of how much money I make, regardless of how well I'm doing, regardless of even the fact that as you were saying, in a world where so many people were actually scared about losing their jobs, you were like, oh, I'm thriving in this, but still what feels bad, or like what doesn't
Yeah.
feel right for you, it's not right for you, and that's just the way it is.
Exactly. And it's like, it's one of those things where it's like you, when you have, yeah, you have to figure out what works for you. And like, I'm in that phase again where I was writing was better for me than sales because at least it's somewhat creative. But now I'm like, I don't write at all for myself because I spend all day writing for money. And so it's like now I have to figure out the right balance of I've just switched to in the fall of this year, I switched back to freelance. So I was full time for 2 years. And then I said, hey, I think it makes more sense for me to be freelance again. And they were like, cool. And that way I could have multiple contracts and potential to make more money, but also I make less because I just spend less time doing it. And so I'm also trying to be a full time comedian. Like that would be cool to be a full time comedian / working in the comedy club full time instead of writing for money about things that I don't always care about. Sometimes I do, and sometimes I write articles that I'm really excited by, but sometimes I'm assigned something about like a TikTok influencer and I'm just like, I don't care and they shouldn't be famous and like whatever. Like whose relationship with who are these 19-year-olds? Like I don't care. But you know, you got to make it sucks because I mean it comes back to capitalism, right? It's like if I didn't have to work to literally have a home, have food and have medical care. Well, medical care is kind of that's more of a right in Spain, luckily. But at least having a home and having food, you have to have money, and it's just such BS. It's like, why are we in such a BS? I just capitalism makes me angry, and I think a lot of like the world's problems can come back to capitalism as a whole. So
Interesting.
yeah,
Well, I don't
I
know.
mean, I'm not like pro communism. I'm not like let's all like live on a farm. I mean, part of me is like that would be nice, right? If we all just like I don't know if you know, do you know Kate Cheka? She's a London-based comic.
No.
Um she did live in Berlin for a while and she was just in Barcelona and she's like I just want to live in the forest with my tits out eating berries. And I'm like she's kind of right. Like it's not like I want to work. It's like I like doing comedy and I like writing for myself and I like singing and making music. And it's like, yeah, if I could monetize those things, great, because I have to monetize. But I'm not out here trying to monetize them because I want to be rich or famous. It's just because like I want to survive and not be miserable.
Okay. That's. I mean, on that, I always my view or my take with that is that I apparently, and I've been told at the times that I have some sort of a nihilist view
Oh, okay.
to an extent, but
Yeah, I mean,
again,
nihilism is, I support nihilism.
to no to an extent, because I'm not. It's not to say because I don't personally think that. Again, I I'd like to think that I don't have views are like, oh, I only see this and this thing only. I like to think that, again, I find value in some of this stuff because I
Yeah.
think at the moment as well, like in one hand I feel like, look, ideally yes, I would love to not have to work for money,
Yeah.
but I don't live in an ideal world.
Right.
And
Like that's not the reality.
and I always take this from my dad, although I don't take many things from my dad, but one of the things I take, although again I love the guy, he was a wonderful person,
Oh.
but
Did both
yeah, they are both dead.
that's so sad. I'm so sorry.
Thank you. Well, got this from it, not you.
Well, I got a house in London, so
um, no, well, the thing is, yeah, R.I.P. I love no, but being in all seriousness, I love my parents and I miss them dearly. What I was gonna say is my dad had this saying. He was saying that you can't piss against the wind, and I
yeah.
kind of feel in this regard now. I'm like, it's true. Like again, ideally, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Like ideally, I think, yeah, capitalism is in some ways is bad, but then in the other way, you look at the alternatives, and I think even about like jobs, and even like jobs now, I feel like
Yeah.
every single thing that we have, I think, in my opinion, my belief is every single thing that I have to do has things that I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
However, I find I find it worth it doing those like things which I don't like. For example, with comedy,
Mm-hmm.
I hate admin work.
Oh yeah,
You
that
know,
admin
I
sucks.
I'm also a fairly socially awkward person.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not necessarily, I don't manage to build like those relationships with other comics and managing to like power my way through in regards of like being able to befriend the set I like to think
You're
I'm
friendly. I don't
helping.
think you're that socially awkward.
Oh, no, it's not in that sense, but I sometimes if I feel like I just don't want to, like, if I'm there to perform, I'm just gonna be there to perform.
I
I
know.
don't
Yeah.
necessarily, I'm not gonna be like, I'm not gonna go over the top, like I don't necessarily, if like after a gig I'm like, oh, I've been working hard today, I've got all these things going on, I'm going home, I
Yeah.
don't, although again I see the what's the word? I see the value, in like hanging out and making friendships. And I'd like to think I've developed some wonderful friendships from comedy, but I love my own time, and I also
Yeah.
not know that I have a limited energy, for like social energy, which usually goes on stage,
Right.
when I have to like listen to the audience and see whether they like it, whether I have to change something, whether I have to, play on something else. And then once that's done, I'm like, oh, I'm tired now
Yeah.
and I need to recharge. So, but you see, I still do it, because again, I feel like I love comedy. I love
Yeah.
it enough to get over myself on these, like, things which I don't like. I feel the same with, like, I don't know, even the community work sometimes, where I know I sometimes, you like on other jobs I have to work with people who I don't necessarily like, but I'm like, you know what, it's
Yeah. It's
I
just
get
part of it.
that thing, the money which comes from this will pay for my bills, will pay for my whatever. So I'm like, that's the price I have to pay
Yeah.
for that. So you see that, yeah, I have again, yeah, ideally I would love to live. No, actually, not in a forest. No, I'd like to live in a hotel room.
Yeah, it's like I also like the idea of like the forest or like the commune is like it's nice, but then when you were saying there's always something you have to pay, I was like, yeah, you have to pay in labor. Like when you're in a commune, it's like one person has to get the water work in, someone has to get the food. I'm like, I don't think I could do that. Like,
And I think that, look, like I have a bit in my comedy, because like my partner, she well, we have some communist manifestos in
love
the
it.
no, just because she likes
It's
history, and she.
interesting to like learn about the different.
However, I grew up in a post communist country, so that's
Yeah.
why I feel like with my dad, which was weird. Like my mom was very like
Where did you grow up again?
Romania.
Right,
And
right,
then
right.
my dad was an accountant throughout like the communism, through the communist party. He was actually an accountant for those, like, union
Yeah,
farms, right?
yeah,
Like public owned farms. But then he hated it. He was like, this is just the thing that I had to do,
yeah.
because he was either this or go back to like being in the army, and he didn't
No,
like,
no.
although he enjoyed, I think he loved Romania, and he loved the country and everything, but he didn't want to die uh for no, there is a story with that. But anyway, yeah, but then growing up around them, like I've noticed every time when someone would go like, "Oh yeah, communism was so much better," my dad would go absolutely ballistics.
Yeah.
While my mom actually was kind of like, "No, it was better because if you're like a newly married couple, you get a house."
Wow.
But then the thing is, you only were allowed to eat so much food.
Right.
You only were allowed to, like, you couldn't go on holiday overseas, like all these things that we kind of like
Oh
take for
God.
granted. You weren't allowed to do, well, so that's why growing up around them, I'm like, I see like why my dad is like my dad hasn't had rice since he left. Yeah, because during
He has to eat so much
because
of it.
he had to eat so much of
Oh
it when they were in
God.
we have this dish called pilaf,
Uh huh.
which is like a mix with like vegetables, meat, and is like a rice sort
Yeah,
of.
rice pilaf. Yeah.
Yeah, right, rice pilaf, and but because of that, because that was the only thing that they were like eating,
Yeah.
he he stopped. Like as soon as he left the army, he was like, "I'm never touching that again," and he hasn't.
Crazy. He
Yeah.
can't go on Survivor then.
No, you'll be survivors, and then like Asterix with terms and
Yeah, he
conditions
would
apply.
only eat the coconuts. He would not eat the rice.
So you see, it's stuff like this where you kind of like you see it, then I come to London, and my neighbors upstairs, they are socialists. Like they're actually member of a social. Yeah,
Really
yeah. It's too wild.
wild. I mean, because you actually grew up in post-communism, so it's like that's so different than someone like me who's American who grew up in like hyper capitalism. It's like we all the grass is always greener.
Yeah, of course. No, that's. I think that's an important thing to accept as well. That that's a point of view
Yeah,
from the set, because like the thing is, from knowing people who grew up in like people who are like Americans, I get it. I
yeah.
understand why there is so much, not necessarily hatred, but like why there is a resentment of some sort towards the capitalism, because you're like, oh yeah, no, some things are like the only.
Yeah, because they tell you you can be whatever you want to be. You can dream whatever you want to dream, right? And I was like, okay, I want to be on Broadway, right? I had crippling stage fright, or not stage fright, audition
No
audition
way.
anxiety, and no matter what it was, when I would audition, I would forget the words. My voice would crack when I was singing. So when I was younger and I did theater, it was like often because, and I had good roles, it was often because I knew the directors and they had seen me perform. And so they didn't always take my actual audition into account. And as I got older, and I auditioned a little in the city. I got a couple. I got the one role I got was not a role. It was when I was already doing comedy, and there was like a musical comedy cabaret that these guys were putting on, and I went in with one of my songs, and they were like, I like theme for Valentine's Day, and they were like, I love that. But it was comedy, right? So it's different. I treated it like I was just performing comedy for two guys. But for some reason, when it came to auditioning theater, I could not do it.
No.
So that's one thing that stopped me. But the other thing that stopped me is if you want to be whatever you want to be, right? And you want to be a star, you want to be on Broadway, you want to act, you want to sing, whatever, you also have to pay your rent. You also have to, right? And it's like you also have to wake up. Breaking news, you have to pay your rent. Breaking news, you have to be hot, right? So you have to pay for your gym membership, and you have to pay for your food, you have to pay for your health care, right? If you don't get into the equity Broadway union by the time you're 26, you're kind of done because that's not me, that's you. Okay. Like, because then you have to find your own health care, right? So it's like there are just all these things that stand in your way of the American dream that everyone talks about, right? That's okay. Yeah, get that mute on. No, it was on. That's crazy.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, so it's just like they tell you you can be whatever you want to be, and then you can't. And then you can't because you have to pay to live first. You know? And so it's just, and then you pay for college, right? They say you have to go to college. And I kind of not regret going to college, but I wish I took a gap year. Did you go to uni?
I did, but I luckily I managed to. I didn't pay for it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was government. I got what do you call it? Like a
Scholarship.
scholarship.
Yeah. I had a pretty good scholarship, so I can't complain. But like, I do wish I took a gap year because I don't think I
Interesting.
would have majored in. I majored in educational theater. I
Right.
don't think I would have done that. I think I would have majored in writing if I went.
Do you would you think that now? Because I think. Do you think that it's making a huge difference? Like, or is it the fact that you have a major kind of like helps you out enough, or would have you rather take the extra, I guess, lessons? Or
Yeah.
what makes you
I
think that?
just I guess I just wish I had more expertise in the things that I love
Right.
doing. Like I'm not that I'm self-taught, like I did creative writing and I had a creative writing minor in college. Um but I think I just wish that like maybe I studied playwriting or dramatic writing or something and I felt more comfortable writing scripts and writing stories and cuz I've written some but like more amateur and more just like, and I haven't written them in ages because I just don't have time now. Because now I do comedy.
Well, how what's it before we wrap it up and go to the game?
Yeah.
What it's been like doing comedy in Spain
Oh
at
my
the
God.
moment?
I love it. Spain's great because, well, Barcelona specifically, we have a really good scene. Michelle Wolf lives there. Kyla Cobbler lives there. Kyla's blown up recently. We have a lot of great comics come through to visit. We've had some New York, like Ray Ellen. He's like a Comedy Cellar comic. And then John Marco Cerezi, who I used to do shows with in New York, he just came through. So I was like, yo, can I open for you? And he was like, yeah, totally, of course. So we have a lot of opportunities to like meet bigger comics. Whereas like I feel like in London, like there's a lot more steps to meeting those big people, right? Like you want to already be cast at clubs and like opening for like smaller people before you meet the bigger people. You know, it's like
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. And so it's for me it's really exciting because it allows more opportunities and it is kind of big fish in small pond, but like I can't complain. And the pond's not that small, you know, like we have a lot of tourists. So there's a lot of rotating audiences still. But we also have like regular audiences that follow some of us. And um, not that I I'm like find joy in like getting recognized, but every so often someone not necessarily will like recognize me, but someone will be like, "Oh hey, like I saw you at like you were in a comedy show the other day," or like someone will wave to me on the street, and I'm like, "Do I know them?" And then they'll be like, "Oh, I thought I knew you, but I saw you perform comedy. Like obviously you wouldn't know me," and I'm like, "Right, yeah, I don't know you." Um, so it's kind of weird. Like I'm not saying I'm like a little Barcelona celebrity. I'm not, but like it's kind of a fun way of like you meet people, right? You have this expat community. My closest friends are all comedians, and then at the same time we have a lot of opportunities to perform and to learn. And um I just did my solo show for the first time.
How was it?
It was great. It's all about we haven't really touched much on the mental health thing, but it's a lot about kind of what we've been talking about, these sorts of expectations you have growing up. I started with a video of me and my brother singing Tomorrow from Annie when I was 5 and he was 2, because it's in 98. So we're really little and it's really cute. And then I go right into a song on the piano that's like, when I was younger, I thought I'd have it all figured out by now. But now I'm 31 and I'm singing the song too, whatever. Right. So it's this whole idea of like, we all thought we knew what we'd be and we have no idea. And we just kind of have to make the best of it. And there's bits about, there's a lot of bit about like depression and like these moments where you're like the opening song is like, your parents saying like you're special and me being like, okay, if I'm so special, why do I feel like dying? Like that sort of idea. And then I have a whole thing about ADHD in there and just figuring out like, okay, I do all these things and I'm like kind of decent at them. Why haven't I been able to like progress or make a living out of it? And it's kind of frustrating. And it's like, I think that plays a big role in it in this. I think ADHD and borderline BPD probably have a lot of similarities because there's a lot of like one of the biggest things in ADHD. I haven't been officially diagnosed yet, and I need to go. Is the emotional regulation side, and that's something I've always struggled with. And I don't. Have you seen Crazy Ex Girlfriend?
I have been told to watch it
You have to watch it.
recently because of my uh, writing.
Yeah, well, she gets diagnosed with
Yeah.
BPD in it. And so there was a moment because I really felt a kinship to her because she, like me, lets her romantic relationships take over. And she's also Jewish and she's also a musical theater girl and she also went to NYU. We have a lot of similarities in real life and in the show. And so there was a moment where I was like, oh my God, do I have BPD? And not that it would be like a bad thing, but I'm like, why haven't I been diagnosed? Like, why hasn't? And as I'm getting older, I'm learning more about ADHD and think that that's much closer to what I have. But it's, yeah, emotional regulation is like a really big piece of it that I find challenging.
Well, the way I've been, someone's explained to me was that all these things they are like they are a spectrum of some
Yeah.
sort. So obviously there are crosses. There are things which are the same because like it's the same with, I think, the best example is like autism. No,
Yeah.
autism is not like a textbook like, oh, here. No, it's also a spectrum.
Right.
Because I feel like some people think, yeah, autism, great at maths, or loves trains, but it's not. That's not the case, because again, you have a whole spectrum of it, and then you just pick, or you only have certain traits. So
Yeah.
yeah, there is a lot of like crossover between BPD and ADHD. Actually, the dialectual behavioral therapy, which I've done in a hospital last year, and now I'm doing on a weekly basis on
What
my
is
own.
that?
It's basically it's helped out quite a bit, and you might have even noticed like throughout the conversation when I'm saying that, like the way I've learned that the fact that something can be right and wrong simultaneously.
Yeah.
Something can be like, again, you take value from whatever you're being told, but then whatever doesn't apply to you, you discard.
Right.
That's dialectual behavior. So basically, dialectual behavior. stands for the fact that there is like there can be two ways of looking at something at
Mm.
least.
Which a lot of the world needs to learn right now
Exactly. So you see
when it
that.
comes to our worldly conflicts.
Well, that's that. I think that's probably in everything,
Yeah.
and this is what's helped me out a lot. But you see, yeah, people who I've met through DBT were also some of them were diagnosed with ADHD actually,
Mm.
and then they were still kind of like, oh, we think this could work for you,
Yeah.
and then they did it, and it's actually working out very like no very well because but it's working out better,
That's good.
because you I think the constant reminder that something is not it's not just like black and white,
Right.
things can be gray. Again, things can be a certain shade of black or a certain shade of white. You
Mhm.
don't go because I think especially at the moment sometimes you because I think even the thing that I was saying we were talking earlier about the footballer and the ex like
Yeah.
Mets player, you're kind of like again in my in my belief in my to me
Yeah.
it's clear that these people have done something terrible,
Right.
but then at least it allows me to accept the fact that some people see it in a different way.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that's the right or wrong. It's just the fact that I see why some people would argue that well, okay, look, he's done it. He's been I don't know something happened to him. Like for example, this whole like the English footballer was like he did have to go through. I think he went again. He came out. He
Yeah.
had a lot of stick for it. Allegedly, they've like
They've worked it out.
yeah, they
Yeah.
worked it out. Now what? Like again, it's still wrong, but then to what extent? So that's what it helps out quite a bit. But
Yeah. That's really interesting.
we'll do this again.
Yeah. This is
Hopefully,
really fun.
I'm fingers crossed next year. I want to once I start having savings again, I would love to come to
Yeah.
Barcelona as well, and maybe we can
Definitely
do it
come
remote.
through. Yeah.
No remote, sorry. We can do it in Barcelona.
Yeah. Well,
But
we can do, you can jump on the comedy confession booth.
oh yes, please. I'd love to. And now, before we go to the game, I wanted to ask: where do people check out your stuff? Where are you mostly active? Also, are you going to are you going to take this the 1 hour, or are you planning to eventually bring it to England, or are you active with like announcing your dates for the shows and things like that?
Yeah, I try to be. Admin's hard. Admin is hard, but I ideally, well, I'm definitely bringing it to the Fringe. So it's called Fuck Tomorrow, but there's an asterisk. So it's F asterisk CK tomorrow. And I'm bringing that to the Edinburgh Fringe for the full run, 2:05 p.m. at Southside Inn. It's through PBH. And then I'm doing 2 more runs of it in Barcelona. You can follow me on Instagram at Jamie Lerner Butts. That's JAMIELERNER Butts. Just because butts are funny. Everyone's like, Jamie Lerner comedian, blah 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 comedian. I'm like butts. And yeah, I try and post stuff there. I'm trying to get better at doing reels and stuff, and we'll see. But follow me; it really helps get me spots and stuff, both in Barcelona and Europe. When I plan to tour my hour after Edinburgh, so depending on how Edinburgh goes, maybe I'll tour in the UK. More likely, I'll be touring in Europe. So Prague, Berlin, Madrid, Amsterdam, Luxembourg, Paris, kind of around just to try and do that circuit.
That'll be cool.
Yeah.
Well, um, yeah. Any what's the word? Predictions for later today?
Oh my God, for the game?
Yeah.
Predictions or hopes?
But
Because
we
they're
can do
different.
both if you want.
Well, my hope is that the Mets win. My prediction is that they will not.
Yeah, that's
My
yeah,
prediction is that, and it's kind of funny because yesterday, so we were down 6-1,
yeah.
7-1,
No,
7-2.
7-2, 7-2.
We were down 7-2. We were down 6-1, and then it was 7-2 in the bottom of the ninth. And I'm there with Estebe. I don't know if you know Estebe Tomas. He's from Andorra, but he's lives here now. Really funny. And he came to the game with me yesterday, and he doesn't know baseball at all. So it was fun. I got to explain everything. And he said, "What do you think's going to happen? And I was like, I think they're going to get 2 runs, and then they will have the men on base that they need to even out the score, but they will strike out or go out, and it won't happen. And that basically happened. We had the bases loaded, and then double played. So we have bases loaded, 1 out. I was like, okay, there's a chance. And
No,
then there was a double play.
no, that's I was actually shocked because
Classic Mets.
we were doing some. I can't remember. I think, but we were busy with something anyway, and I've only seen the score, and I was actually shocked by the first. When I was like, oh,
Yeah,
interesting,
Mets got a run.
yeah, and then it was six.
And then yeah, all we need is 1 inning to just totally fuck up. Like, oh my god, classic Mets. You know the thing that's fun about watching the Mets is like, sorry, I know we're going over. The thing that's fun about watching the Mets is like they are the exact type of team to either do just well enough to give you hope and then fuck it up, or come back in the craziest, weirdest fucking ways. Like every time they win, it's like a weird win. It's never like,
Oh, straightforward.
yeah, it's never straightforward. It's always, so it's like they're always entertaining, and that's all you can ask.
True. True, that's true. And you know what? You never know. That's the thing in sports, and I think everywhere in life, things are, moving,
Yeah,
in a circular
everything's cyclical.
way. So, yeah, you never know what's going to happen. Anyway, let's go.
Let's
Thank
go.
you so much.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, I was going to say we'll catch up later, but we're literally walking
Yeah.
together.
So we'll catch up with the audience later.
Perfect. Thank you and goodbye. Hey, not bad, eh? I hope you enjoyed the interview. I hope you enjoyed the. I don't even know whether to call it. And anyway, yeah, I hope you enjoyed the conversation that I had with Jamie. And look, she was right. The Mets have won. It was a great game. It was very surprising that the Mets have won for sure. But look, I loved it. I loved the conversation with Jamie, and I loved watching the game, Mets versus Phillies. Yeah, I loved it. And now I'm gonna leave you, and we'll catch up next week. And look, check the bio in case you wanted to get Jamie's handle. You by now should know mine. If not, you'll find it, I'm sure. But thank you for listening, and I hope to see you again next week. And literally, because they are next to me as I finish recording this, from Pickle and Sarma and me, take care and stay skillful. Bye.